Lowell Narcisse, offensive coordinator at East Ascension High School. You're watching the FanView podcast.
You can't tell Patrick Mahomes he needs to do this and not do that, or tell Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson needs to do this or do that. Like, those guys are unique because of the things that God's blessed them with.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like just giving people the opportunity to let those guys showcase those things is been the biggest difference. Because if you win with it, then now you're a genius. If it doesn't work, that's why they're having so much.
Welcome back, everybody. FanView podcast. It's been some time coming, y'all, but we in the building.
You know it.
I'm that boy Fred.
Coach Hurricane here back at it again.
G Sports back at it, man.
And again.
Y'all already know what it is. Listen, get locked in. FanView podcast if you're on YouTube. FanView podcast if you're on IG. FanView podcast if you're on TikTok. It's FanView NOLA if you're still on X. It's FanView podcast if you're on Facebook, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts. We can't stop. We won't stop. But we back with another episode, y'all. Lowell Narcisse in the building.
Appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Woo! It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, man. It's always good having a big time legend in the building, man. Well,
yes.
I saw the what his name is, the guy that used to do the River Parish media. Eric Ritchie. He just did a top 10 River Parish players all time. What he had you? 3, 4?
I was 6.
Six. He had Jarvis Landry 1. Puka was 2.
Duke was 3.
Duke was 3.
Sully Lester was 4.
Yeah.
Aaron Verone was 5. I was 6. I want to say Will Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
From Dutch Grand was 7.
Mm-hmm.
I know the last 2 was Shamar Smith.
Yep, Shamar was 10.
We had 2 other guys that was on there.
You had Roydell Williams on there?
I think it was like
I think it was a time frame.
Yeah,
it was a time frame.
2010 to 2020.
Yeah, time frame. But that just kind of sum up, man. What you did in your career, man, and how people look at you. I remember when your name started getting hot, man. 19th grade year at St. James, and I started following you, and when you committed to Auburn, and we were getting all that. But man, we always like to start our podcast, bro, talking about your journey. Man, take us back, Lowell, man, when you first fell in the game, first fell in love with the game of football. And when did you know that you had a chance to do something special, man? And take us through that journey, man. Once you started getting your name buzzing in Louisiana, man, and the colleges started knocking down the doors at St. James.
Yeah. Man, to be honest, my first position, man, I was number 55. I played center.
What?
Ben Wilkinson.
That's a fun fact. That's a good fun fact right there.
I was number 55. I played center. I always been the bigger kid in my age group. And my next year, I played tight end.
So this was a park ball?
Park ball. So
Gotcha.
my first time, I actually quit, man. I used to go home. I cried at my brother. I was like, man, I don't want to do this, man. He was like, you ain't quitting. So next year, I ended up playing tight end. We used to get a whole bunch of tight end rounds. Then my next year, from, I want to say, 8 to 12, I played running back. And so they used to call me the choo-choo train.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Toting that pill.
Yeah. So from that point, went to 7th, 8th grade, and that was during the period of St. James we went to 2 years of not winning the game. And so our 7th, 8th grade game used to be a lot packer than the varsity game just because everybody knew, the community knew that we had the next generation.
Mm-hmm. Y'all had a good group.
Players.
Really good
They're going
group.
to change things out.
And so 2 years we won. We won it all, whatever you want to call it, 7th, 8th grade championship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so after my 8th grade game, we played Lutcher. The first time we played them, we lost 6 to 12. I remember I was caught a tunnel screen and took it to the house, and they ended up getting called back. And then we played them again at their place. I want to say I had 4 touchdowns. I had a punt return, a pick 6,
Goddamn.
2 rushing touchdowns. And after the game, Coach Jenkins came up to me and said if I wanted to come to Lutcher, and I was like, shit, if it's okay with my parents, so a lot of people know if he hadn't got the job, I was going to go to Lutcher.
What?
Yeah. If he hadn't got the job, I was going to go to Lutcher.
That would have changed a lot.
Yeah.
That would have changed a whole dynamic of how things went.
Right.
Yeah,
a
no
lot of
doubt.
people don't realize that.
Yeah.
And so he got a job in, I want to say, January.
Mm-hmm.
And his first meeting, he pulled me in his office as an 8th grader, and he was like, you're going to be the top quarterback in the nation if you just trust me.
You believe that?
And I looked at him, I'm like, man, you ain't just seen what I did Tuesday?
Right.
Like,
Right.
And so, as the process going on, I remember, and I just kind of talked to him a lot still to this day. I remember going through my first first spring, and I couldn't complete hitches, man. Like, it was awful. Just because, like, you never really, a lot of times, especially now, like, coaches realize how much we expect the kids to know something, and they really don't know.
Right.
And so I kind of almost self-taught myself how to throw the ball and how to, kind of went through my journey over that. And so my freshman year, we started off 0-5, and we was just kind of right there, just kind of losing close game, and then we finally ended up winning. We beat Fisher at home. But a lot of people know my freshman year, I want to say against E.D. White, I ended up catching back spasm. And so I was dealing with back problems from, I want to say, week 2 to the first round of the playoffs. So every week I was having to go to the doctor. I was missing practice, and it was awful, man, because it ain't really nothing you can do to treat your back.
No.
And so we finally got on the road. We went on. I want to say we finished the regular season 4-6, and then we got in the playoffs. We ended up winning 2 games. We went to Lake Arthur and beat those guys by, I want to say, 20. We had the last game at the old stadium. We played Sterlington and won 42-40. And then we ended up
Good program too.
Yeah, ended up losing to Kinder 13-21 in Lake Charles. And then my second year, when everything kind of flipped, going into that year, I kind of had a new level of confidence, new second time in the scheme, and I took off that year. I want to say that year I finished with 3,000 passing yards, 1,400 rushing yards, and like 54 touchdowns.
God damn.
And from that point, that's when
He's
my
10th
recruiting,
grader.
yeah, as a 10th grader.
God damn.
And from that point, my recruiting took off. From that point, I was the number one player, number one quarterback in the nation. I was top 10 in the world. And going into my junior year, we playing Chalmette at home. And I want to say, Coach, we kind of was sloppy in the spring end, to be honest with you. And so we were actually got in the rhythm, and we wanted to go one more drive. And I want to say the third play, I end up pulling the ball, running down our sideline, and I get horse collar from the back. And I tear my ACL, and you can just hear the life come out of the stadium. Like, how we talking right now, you hear a pin drop at a stadium. So I ended up going to the hospital, finding out I tore my ACL. And as soon as I found out, I told myself, man, I want to make this a remarkable year. And so a lot of people, especially during that time, was taking 8 to 12 months to come back from ACL, and ended up coming back in 4 months. So I missed the whole regular season of my junior year. And I want to say I was cleared about week 6, but my mom wouldn't clear me to play. And so I practiced for about 4 weeks and came back in the first round of playoffs. I was on a snap count. I want to say I had about 16 snaps the first game. Second game, I was at 30. And then the third game, we played who we had third game? Played another good team at home, and they cleared me to play the whole game. And then the fourth round, we were supposed to go up to Meet, and Meet got disqualified, and then we ended up playing Lutcher in the Dome. And so after that,
Y'all would have lost that game too.
What, Meet?
He was on that staff. That's why he said.
Y'all got
We would have beat y'all in the shootout.
y'all
I said we would have beat y'all 48-49.
y'all would have got
Whoever had the ball last, us who win that game.
Tate was gonna have the ball last.
How?
How? who was stopping Tate?
We had winning problem. If y'all only can throw it to him.
And he played he played DB too.
He had to tackle me.
Yeah, true story.
He had to tackle me. He had to tackle
True
me.
story.
That would have been a good one, though.
That was a good one.
We can get the ball for 6 minutes and I keep it and run it every play.
Y'all had to come to A-Meet though.
We did.
Yeah.
We played better on the road.
That's when y'all had that brawl.
Yeah,
That's when they had the brawl. We didn't have nothing. Damn,
So yeah, we went up losing to Lutcher in the state championship game, and they honestly people don't realize like their gyps was there up front. They're better than us. Like Sully literally. Beat
Oh
us.
my God!
He beat
Nobody
us by
can block
himself,
Sully.
man.
Nobody could block Sully. Nobody can block him in college.
Right.
And after that, a lot of people know after that year, well, during that time, I want to say in November, I found out my dad had cancer, and he passed away in January after that season. So
How did it affect you?
Um,
People don't talk about that kind of stuff. Like people just see what's happening
Especially
on
at that
the
young of
field.
age.
Yeah.
At a young age, people don't realize that how much of that those factors play on your performance as a player. So how did it affect you?
I think even now, still to this day, man, I feel like, especially the position I was in, I was highly ranked, highly recruited,
Yeah, you were.
and it felt like, especially the amount of attention I was getting, nobody actually wanted to.
Hear it.
I want to say give me direction on what I wanted. You know, like at the time I'm 16, 17, and I felt like that when I needed my dad the most, because that's the one person that's gonna give you an unbiased opinion about what you should do, and not you not have any regret back from it. And so
Right.
a lot of people wouldn't give me their opinion because they didn't feel like they wanted to lead me in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people know that played the biggest factor in me going to LSU. You know, I just felt like at the time I just wasn't ready to leave away from home, knowing that I just lost my dad going into my senior year.
Yeah.
And so like even to the day I still find myself want to make that call and just kind of have a conversation about somebody who's going to talk to you, and it is not you're going to get their best interest at heart. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I take into my coaching business now, to where I want to be the example or be that ear for those guys who don't have that father or that direction of what they need in life.
You because I remember when you committed to Auburn, man, you did it at like y'all host or something like that, like for your birthday or something.
I had a party
Yeah.
for my birthday.
Yep.
And man, a lot of people don't know, man. When you go on a recruiting trip, man, wherever you at, that's where you want to go. Man, wherever you at, that's where you want to go.
For real.
They make it hard.
Emotional
for you,
decision.
man. And like
Yeah.
people don't understand, like as a kid, I'm 16 and like they're telling you all these things and showing you the world and taking you to
Yeah.
their house and taking you on a boat and
Right.
having these experiences. And I'm like, how do you regulate or be able to separate yourself from those emotions at 16 and 17?
You can't.
And so I think that's why I felt like I needed him the most during that time, because it's like, I don't know no better. All I know is the things that I'm being able to see. And like I said, every trip I went on, whether it's Clemson, Bama, Auburn, Memphis, LSU, like wherever I was at the time, like, man, that's where I wanted to go.
Right.
What was it about Auburn though?
just
Because
felt-
I actually think, this is my personal opinion, that was Gus Malzahn, right?
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
The offense he was running,
mhm.
it fit what you do.
It did.
I really thought like you was gonna go there and be the next
It did.
Cam.
It did.
I really thought
A
that.
lot of people know I talked to Cam and he told me I could wear it too.
Ooh. Y'all have committed too.
So they laid it on.
I'd have committed too.
Everything, everything you could possibly.
Commitment
have,
over.
like,
And that was right off the national championship, huh?
that Nick Marshall.
Nick Marshall.
All right.
Nick Marshall.
Okay.
Cause Nick Marshall playing DB, then they moved him to
Moved to
quarterback.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Moving to quarterback.
And Jeremy, the plan was set out for me, man. They said Jeremy Johnson was a sophomore. He's gonna play 2 years. I was a
Mhm.
sophomore in high school. When he leave, I was gonna come right in and play. And at the time, I felt like that was the right thing to do. And it just during the process, a lot of people know they had what's the guy that went there, Jared Stidman.
Yeah.
Oh,
He transferred from
Lord.
Baylor.
Yeah.
Champion for Baylor, yeah, because Baylor had the allegations
Right.
going on.
And I talked to the offensive coordinator, Rhett Lashley. Like me and him, he tell me every day to this day. He said, "You the reason I got fired and I had to leave Auburn." So I talked to him, and I was just kind of asking those guys about him and Damian Craig.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask him like, "What's the deal like with the guy coming in?" And during the time, they act like they didn't know what was going on. And I went, once you go on a visit, they have like players that's gonna host you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And 3 of the players told me the exact same thing, that they know that Jared was coming. I was like, if these guys know, they know. And so at the time, like, it broke like some trust.
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 Yep.
I'm like, you can tell me
You
what's
can
going
tell me,
on.
no.
I mean, like, they're gonna have somebody here I'm gonna have to compete with anyway.
Right.
But don't lie to me and telling me that y'all don't know what's going on.
That was a red flag.
Right. And so I left that Sunday. Monday, Jared committed. And so I want to say I committed to LSU. I want to say 3-4 months after that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, like I said, I just felt like it was the right thing to do, man. So
Talk about coming back after the ACL
mhm.
and then going into your senior season with it, because I was on the St. Helena squad, coaching against you your
My freshman year,
Mhm.
my A grade, really.
Yeah, it did to come back against you your senior year. Cause I was like, man, I remember, cause I was coaching D line, and I'm telling my DN, hey, look, he a hell of an athlete. When you see that big brace, he can't break contain. and you got around him the first, I say, God, he's like, he didn't change nothing.
Easy.
Take the brace off.
Easier said than done.
Man, and a lot of people know, like, I was forced to play with the brace. Like, the only time I ever wore it is when I was in the game. I didn't practice with it. I didn't run with it. I didn't rehab with it. And so it was a comfort thing for my mom. She's just like, the only way I'm let you play if I play with the brace. And it really didn't matter, to be honest with you. But going into my senior year, Coach Jenkins had just left and went back to Lutcher. We got Coach Valdez. And everyone was excited because, we was the favorite to win it that year.
Mhm.
Just because I was coming back. We had just played in the state championship game. I want to say we had at least 8-9 return to starters on offense. And we had a phenomenal spring game against Helen Cox. And then we played Patterson. We played pretty well. And I actually had a AC joint against Patterson. I wasn't even supposed to play in the Jamboree. And we was in practice one day. And you know how kids are. We making videos about us playing Downsonville. And I'm like, I done made this video, man. I got to play now. It's my last time being there to play those guys.
Right.
And so they had a great scheme coming out in the first half. I want to say we was winning like 14-7. And then we ended up breaking it open in the second half. And I want to say the second to last drive, Coach Val told me he was going to give me another drive. And as I'm running down the sideline, I went to make a cut and try to cut back. And I can just feel my leg buckle and come back.
And this was the other ACL.
Just my other leg.
Yeah, that one.
And so I get up, I walk off, and I'm just looking around, and everybody just kind of got this little stone on his face. And I'm just kind of like, I got up this time, so I didn't think it was too much, but I'm in denial about it because, I know what I just felt.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk after the game. I go to the doctor that morning, and I go to Dr. Elias in Thibodaux. And as we coming back from Thibodaux, my mom get a call, and I could see her face change as she's driving, but I'm not paying it no mind. I didn't know who it was calling. So as we get to the house, she leave out, my brother go sit in the car and talk. And I'm still not playing no mind. So I turn my game on, I'm playing my video game. So she tell me, she was like, let's go take a ride to LSU. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we get there. So the first person she go talk to is my doctor who did my surgery, Dr. Bankston. And so Leonard Fournette, I want to say, was out with an ankle injury at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dr. Bankston take me in the office and Leonard Fournette take me in. So now my attendance up. I'm like, something got to be going on for them
Right.
to go and get these guys in here. And he checked my leg, and you can see it clearly move as I go. And he was like, I'm sorry to tell you, man, you just tore your ACL again. And it took everything out of me. I just felt like, man, I just went through this as last year, I get my senior season taken away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to always tell, I didn't tell it to people, but I felt like for a while I was like, man, I feel like I'm being punished for something. And as you get older in life, you don't realize until you look back until like, God's preparing you for something that, don't make sense during the time. But when you look back at it, you can say, man, the things that I learned during those times, like it prepared me for what I am now. But to keep going about it, I want to say, I guess looking back, I can say I was depressed, but when you in it, you don't really understand what's going on.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm the type of person, like when I got something on my mind, I like to eat. Like whatever it is, and I ate Chili's and McDonald's every day. Every day.
2 for 20.
Every day. And from that point, I gained about 25 pounds.
That's a lot of weight.
Yeah, and so when I went to LSU, I want to say I was about 240 my first time when I got there in January. About 240. And so I ended up getting down to 228. They wanted me at 215, but I felt like I ran well enough for them to not bother me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I got there, it was a big transition going into my first spring.
Yeah, you had some competition at that in that quarterback room.
Well, the first day, like people realized I couldn't take a snap my first day of spring. Like I got in the center, and like every snap I took, I fumbled. And I'm
Because
like,
you wasn't used to being on the center.
I hadn't played ball in 2 years.
And play ball
Oh, that too, yeah.
I hadn't played ball in 2 years, and so you think about it, I got Arden Key over here, Devin White right here, Grant Delpit, John Battle, Don Alexander.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like that thing is moving 1,000 miles per hour out there. And then we had just got new offensive coordinator Matt Canada.
Matt Canada.
And
Jet sweep left, jet sweep right.
I don't think people understand the length of those plays. So I would read a play, clap my hand, and I would forget. I would remember nothing that and I'm pretty smart. And I'm like, I don't remember nothing. So I get down there and trying to read it again, and now they're rushing me about it. I'm like, and so I went through a phase of like I had to relearn just about everything about playing, and people don't realize
and the verbiage.
And the verbiage.
Like, that's like
Yeah,
that's like one of the hardest things to
changed,
learn when
man. Especially when you got a new coordinator coming in like that, and so that probably was my best year, I want to say, in college, just because I felt like I learned so much about myself. And so, like I said, I redshirted that year.
Yeah, you had a pretty good group of guys coming in with you.
Yeah, I was
you,
quarterback.
Justin Jefferson. Who else came in with it?
Talking about that signing class.
Yeah,
We had Thaddeus Moss, Justin Jefferson, Emmanuel Nendelis. Who else was in that class?
who else is in that class, man?
Grant Delpit,
Yeah.
Jacoby Stevens,
Jacoby Stevens.
Tyler Shelvin.
You and him was Under Armour All-Americans together. Yeah.
Miles Brennan.
Yeah, sure was. Miles
Mhm.
Brennan came in same year as you.
And we had a few other guys. Todd Harris,
Ty Harris, another Under Armour All-American.
Patrick Queen.
Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
Some dogs.
Some dogs.
Yeah,
That's some guys.
We had what's the offensive line? I'm looking at his name right now. Sadiq Charles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Deculus.
Yep.
So we had a pretty good class, and like I said, I went through a lot of growing pains that year, but I felt like it was beneficial going into the next year.
I just recall back at that time there was a lot of talk of you and Miles Brennan.
Mm-hmm.
Miles Brennan was the highly recruit out of Mississippi,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you come in, there was a lot of
Right.
who they gonna play. They just figured that Daniel Ellen had like this 1 year left,
Mm-hmm.
and he was gonna be out, and who was gonna take over the job from that point on? It's gonna be how this offense is gonna look. Is it gonna be a dual threat offense at LSU,
Mhm.
or they gonna have this drop back style?
Oh, are they gonna do a 2 quarterback system?
I remember those conversations in the
Then
media, bro.
you took it to the fact that Brennan family was big time boosters and
They
all that
were.
stuff.
They were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And people don't understand a lot of that stuff play a factor now.
Yeah,
The politics.
Yeah. And so as the next year going, we supposedly be in the quarterback competition is me, Justin McMillan,
yeah.
and Miles Brennan.
Miles Brennan.
So we were the man three getting the reps out there. And so as the spring go on, I played the best in the spring game. So after the spring, we all had our meeting or whatever like that. And so going into camp, I was 1, Justin was 2, and Miles was 3. And so that was the reason for actually going out and going and get Joe. And so the conversation that we had with us was, I hadn't played ball in essence really 2 years. Justin had a bunch of off the field issues, and they just feel like Miles wasn't ready yet. And so they wanted to go get an older guy to come in and
Here comes Joe Burrow.
right. And so Joe gets there, and he's phenomenal, man.
You felt like that when he first got there?
Because he wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. Like, and I always felt like, especially at that young, at that age, once you've been out of it, like, it's hard to cheer for somebody who has your job.
There you go.
But we created so much of a brotherhood, and because we used to always start our meeting off like the first 20 minutes we wouldn't talk about football, like whatever it was, like life, relationships,
I like that.
school. Like we always started the first 20 minutes of our meeting like just nothing about football, and that created a bond between us. Like I still talk to Justin Miles to this day, and so as the meeting went on, we get to know each other. Fall camp you're meeting about 4 hours out of the day, so you're spending time with those guys anyway, and so we'll come off the field. Obviously we're competing for the same thing, and so after the camp, I want to say last day of camp, we all have our meeting to tell everybody where they're at. And so Coach Ensminger put me in that Friday, I want to say it's Thursday night, as I'm leaving to go home, and he was like, I want to talk to you. And he was like, you're not gonna be the starter, but you're gonna play this year. I'm like, what you mean? He was like, we're gonna have a package for you, but I want you to know you're a huge part of this team, you're a huge part of this offense, and you can make a difference. So I'm like, what are you saying? He was like, Joe's probably gonna be the starter, but you're gonna play about 30% of the snaps. So I went home, and as I'm going home back to our dome, man, I was crushed. I'm like, I competed, and I felt like I earned this opportunity.
No doubt.
And so I ended up going home that night, actually. I packed all my stuff up in my car. I had an Audi A6 at the time. Packed all my stuff in my car. I went home, and me and my mom came back up that morning, and so word hadn't got out that I wasn't at practice and this and that was going on or whatever like that. And so we go up there and we talk to Coach Joe in the office. And a lot of people don't know that, even when I was at JUCO, like Coach O offered me to come back to LSU when I was at junior college. And so during the conversation, he basically just talked about how almost in essence it was above his head about who's going to be the starting quarterback. And so him and my mom went in there and had their own meeting. And as I came out, she just said, these people really don't want you to leave. But, as you're going through that, it's hard to separate how you feel from the reality of the situation.
Right.
And so I ended up leaving and going to junior college in Mississippi, man, and that was the most humbling experience ever.
You mean the Mississippi Gulf Coast?
You went to JUCO. I mean, the
Gulf Coast.
Gulf Coast.
Gulf Coast. Tow it up.
And so, as I'm going through that experience, man, you can go from living in your own 2-bedroom condo to living in basically
it's grimy.
Oh man,
Grind.
The slums.
And so I got there in August, and then I'm putting some strings for me to. I want to say 27 credits for me to graduate in December. And so I want to say I had like 7-8 classes that I was taking at one time.
Damn.
Wow.
And me and the coach still to this day. Well, I wouldn't say still to this day. Like we didn't see eye to eye about my situation there, and so Miss.
What made you choose Mississippi Gulf Coast?
I don't know, honestly. Like at the time, I had 1 million people reaching out to me. Like Lane Kiffin wanted me to come to FAU. I still have the messages in my phone. And he wanted me to sit out a year and play that following year there. I wanted to go back to Auburn actually, and this was before the transfer portal and everything came out.
Right.
You had to sit out a year.
Yeah, and so instead of in essence me sitting out 3 years, I wanted to go and play.
No, I feel like
kind of get my foot wet. So that was the real reason for me going to junior. I didn't have to go. I could have went somewhere and just kind of sat for a year, but I'm like, man,
You've been out of football.
You ain't want to get too rusty.
I already get tackled, man.
Yeah.
Like, and so went to junior college. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize it's hard to go into a system, learn it in 2 weeks, and go be the starter.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, that situation played out how it did. And I was actually supposed to go to Kansas. Me and Puka talked about me coming to Kansas, and the coach from Kansas, he called me.
Tony Hall.
He called me, and I'm looking at her. I want to say her name is. Her last name is Brule.
Mm-hmm. Alvy.
Alvin.
Yeah, Alvy.
So-
How do you say her name?
So she, me and her had a relationship since I was at
Because her and Lance LeJeune
right.
was real tight.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I told her, so she was always reaching out, just kind of checking on me here and there, and so she reached out to Coach Hall to kind of figure out what was going on with me, and come to find out, the coach from junior college was telling people the reason I wasn't playing the last couple of weeks because I wasn't smart and I wasn't understanding what was going on.
Damn.
And so the whole time I was always wondering why. Like I hear from schools, I hear from Arkansas, I hear from New Mexico State, I hear from Florida State, I hear from these guys, and then
They disappear.
I'll tell him like, hey, you can talk to my coach that I'm here now, and it's like I don't hear from them guys no more.
Right.
So and it became a pattern, but it didn't make sense until after me and her had the conversation. And so like I said, it still played itself out. And so Frank Wilson called and he was like, no matter what anybody say about you, I believe in you. I remember the little 8-year-old I used to recruit when me and him been having a relationship for a long time. That's when he was here at UTSA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go up there and they had I wouldn't say in the middle of rebuilding the program.
Mm-hmm.
And me and the guy, Frank Harris, was competing for the job, and he ended up winning it. But he ended up tearing his shoulder labrum, I want to say week 3. So I became the starter and finished the rest of the year out. And I think that's why it's so important. I feel like I have the edge of going into the situation here at EA. Like I know what it takes to rebuild the program.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been through it twice with at St. James and at UTSA. And so we go through it. I want to say we finish, I want to say 4-8. But every game we lost within 3 points, 7 points,
Possession.
whatever the case may be. And so Coach Frank get fired and Coach Trailer comes in, and Then I'm franking up winning the starting job again. And a lot of people don't know this. I was actually a fort going into
Fall camp.
going into that season. And so after the meeting, I'm like, there's no way I think 3 guys are better than me.
Right. Right.
You know,
Right.
but I took it like a man, and like so as it going on, Frank ended up getting hurt again. Josh ended up breaking his collarbone, and then they had another guy in front of me. He just didn't play well, and I got my opportunity to play against UAB, and we ended up scoring. We still ended up losing the game. We had a chance to go tied with, I want to say, 1:13 and 1 timeout. We went after the punt and we didn't get it, and so coach came up to me after the game and told me he apologized. He should have been playing me or whatever. And so going into the next week, we play BYU. He started Franks again, and Frank don't play well in the first half. I come in the second half. I want to say I finished 17 for 20 for 240 and a touchdown, and we end up losing to BYU 20-27. And so I start the next game against Army, and it's 4th and 1. Well, I think we're losing 21-10 at halftime, and we got the ball going down to score. 4th and 1, and we run a split zone quarterback read, and I'm pulling it, and end up getting like 16, 17 yards. And as I'm going down, a guy's fall, and he fall butt first on my ankle, and I feel it snap.
Ooh.
And that's probably the worst thing I ever felt ever. And so as I try to get up, you can see my foot turn out because it was dislocated. And so
You sound like you had that Jordan Travis type of.
yeah, well, it would have broke the skin if I wouldn't have had it spatted. And so I go into the back. They put it on the X-ray. You can kind of clearly see it's still dislocated. And so I go to the hospital, and it's telling me that I'm gonna need immediate surgery. And thank God I didn't have it. So I ended up taking an MRI to see how much of a damage I had in my ankle or whatever. So that morning I get up at 8:00, and the doctor came and get me, and she said, thank God we didn't have surgery last night because it would have been a disaster because of the damage I have in my ankle. And she was like, it's 1 in 100,000 of the brick that you have. So I have cartilage damage in my ankle. Now, cartilage damage don't ever really heal. So the bone,
Right.
to where your leg meets your ankle, the bone that's in between it, I ripped it completely out when I broke it. And so they put this artificial cartilage in there, and it took about 2.5 years for it to heal. So my surgery was supposed to be an hour and a half, and it ended up being almost 6 hours because of the damage that I had. And so as I go back to UTSA, I kept rushing myself trying to get back because I'm like, man, I just played my ass off. I'm getting my opportunity to play again, and kept setting myself back. And so as I'm going through my medical red shirt, I want to say week 8. I want to say week 8. We was 9-0 going into Western Kentucky, and I got a call saying my mom had passed away at 2:00 that morning. And so that was a
whirlwind.
man.
Yeah, that's
Man.
devastating.
Yeah. So
That's devastating.
I almost got in my car and drove 9 hours from San Antonio to Louisiana, and I'm glad I didn't. So I ended up flying home that day, and my first time seeing it was, I want to say that I got a call that Tuesday. My first time seeing it was that Thursday. Was at the funeral home, man, and that was the worst thing ever, man, because it's like ain't nothing like seeing a woman that gave you life lifeless. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that was a challenging time for me during that time, and so I ended up leaving UTSA and going to Nichols. Because I just felt like at the time, like I lost my mom, I lost my dad. I wanted to be close to my family to finish my career out.
Right.
And it really just didn't work out back there. Like the things I needed for myself to kind of get myself back in my routine, they couldn't provide for me. And as I'm going through that journey, I lose both of my grandmothers and my grandfather. So my mom passed away in September. Her mom passed away in December. My mom passed away in February. And my dad passed away in June.
You talking about within a 6 to 8 month span that you lost a lot of people that influence you, impacts you.
Everybody who's responsible for
you being here is gone.
Yeah.
Dude,
how does that affect? Whoa, a 25-year-old like to this cause like it's something that
Yeah.
you don't get
Yeah.
over
Mm-hmm.
all the major achievements in your life
Mm-hmm.
that you have like that you had coming up to you. You had lost somebody special, and then now it's like you're not alone,
Mm-hmm.
but it's like that ultimate. What I always tell my athletes, you always have that ultimate cheering section.
Right.
Where your cheering section is not here on earth no more.
Yeah.
How does that affect you like day to day now?
And that's part of the reason why. I mean, a combination of things of why I left Nichols and I didn't play that year. One was, we had a conversation after spring, and I asked the coach, I was like, what I need to do to be the starter come week one, and it didn't have anything to do with football. And basically, he told me that the reason I'm not the number one guy right now because it's hard for him to communicate with me because I don't talk much. And I'm like, in the midst of what I got going on, like I don't want to deal with any other thing that I feel like can alter or trigger me in any type of way. So I told Sean Preston, I was actually living with them at the time. I was like, man, I think I'm gonna just go right on and move on to the next phase of my life. And what a lot of people, I got a lot of backlash after that, but a lot of people don't realize that, even if I went to Nichols and I had 2 phenomenal years, like I don't think medically I would have been qualified to pass the physical for me to play because of my ankle. And so I left, and I felt like I could have got a job at St. James. I was set up to go to Lutcher, but I wanted to get away from Louisiana just because I felt like I'm the youngest of my mom's kids, and so I'm kind of the baby of the family.
Right.
But when you're in that situation, it can be a blessing and a curse.
Right.
They don't let you grieve the way you need to grieve.
The way you need to grieve.
Everybody have to have their own experience with it, and so I felt like I needed to leave, just so I can kind of, actually feel what I feel and go through the process. And I think that was probably the best thing for me to do. But just on a day-to-day basis, man, and it's probably ain't the healthiest thing to do, but I keep myself busy, and I feel like that would separate me from a lot of coaches because, I've have every reason to say,
Throw the towel in.
I have an excuse to why I'm not where I want to be at. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's easy for me to say, if I'm stuck on drugs, I've decided to, whatever the case may be, like
Right.
nobody could blame me because, look at the things that I've been through.
Right.
And so, like when he said earlier about, being able to be an offensive coordinator my second year, I was like, like when God has some for you, man, there ain't nobody can do about it. I feel like a lot of people
Agree with that.
want what I have now, but I'm like, I guarantee you that they're not willing to go through what
They didn't
what
want
I
the
went
journey.
from. Not from my freshman year to here. Like,
Right.
You're
That's what I said.
you're not willing to deal with that.
Yeah.
And
They want what you have, but if you have to explain the journey like you just explained to us,
yeah,
they don't want the journey, but they want the outcome,
right.
and it's different, dog.
What I want to ask you, I've always felt like, especially like if you go back 10 years ago and more,
Mm-hmm.
that a black quarterback never was respected for how they think,
Right.
how they process stuff. It was always looked at as an athlete.
Mm-hmm.
He can move, he can make plays with his legs, but he can't really dissect the defense. He can't watch film and break stuff down. And not only that, as an offensive coordinator, right?
Mm-hmm.
A black offensive coordinator.
Right.
You see him more now, but that wasn't really common 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
You had
It wasn't
a
common
couple
5 years ago.
Yeah, he had a couple here and there, right? And so now you getting the experience on both sides of the spectrum.
Right.
Coming in as a black quarterback, one of the top ones in the country, a 25-year-old offensive coordinator. How have you dealt with those two sides of it? Being respected as a quarterback that understands the game and not just for your legs,
Mm-hmm.
and now as an offensive coordinator that, look, I'm a football mind. I'm not just a person that played at a high level. I can also teach kids the game and show kids how to play this at a high level like I did.
Mm-hmm. I think when you're going through it and, my mom never was a woman to help me feel sorry for myself, or she always told me like sometimes you just got to be that much better. And it always stuck with me for as how I carry myself, how I perform on the field, just being able to cross your T's and dot your I's with just about everything. And like you said, the game is changing so much and evolving as we go, and you see a lot more dual threat quarterbacks
Yep.
and people moving into this new generational thing that kind of been a thing since a long time ago, but now it's starting to go into a new phase. But especially being on the other side of it now. And last year I had a pocket passer that was 6'4", 190 and could sling it. And so just being able to, like, I guess once you go through it and you come out on the other side, the biggest thing for me was just being able to understand those guys. So right now, I guess the situation I'm in now, I talk to my guys about like whatever you're good at, I'll find out and find a million ways to do it. Like I don't need you to try to be me. I don't need you to try to be the last guy. Like whoever you are, I'll find out a million ways to do whatever you're good at, and it's my job to figure out what you're good at. And so that's always the approach that I believe worked for me. It worked last year. I showed them some of the stats of the guys that I coached last year, and I just think that's a success for a winning formula for success, because
Right.
my little brother DeMarcus went through that when I got hurt. Everybody wanted him to beat me so bad because of
put a lot of pressure on him.
I set the foundation of what he was, and I'm like, man, just be the best version of you. And like I said, I think all those things of those experiences kind of prepared me to be in the situation that I'm in now. Because you don't see a lot of guys this young being in this situation.
No doubt. What you think has changed when you talk about NFL executives, head coaches, just football minds in generals that matter, that now they're accepting, somebody like Patrick Mahomes who look like he out there playing in 7-period gym.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what it looked like sometimes, right? 10 years ago, that was frowned upon. What has changed? Why are people accepting the way Patrick Mahomes play? Because if you was doing that 10 years ago, that was frowned upon.
Right. I want to say just opportunity, man. Like we given a different level of opportunity now, and I mean it's a various, especially at the NFL, it's a various amount of things that goes into it. But like I said, man, just finding out what those guys are good at, man. Like you can't tell Patrick Mahomes he needs to do this and not do that, or tell Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson needs to do this or do that. Like those guys are unique because of the things that guys bless them with. And I feel like just giving people the opportunity to let those guys showcase those things has been the biggest difference. Because if you win with it, then now you're a genius. If it doesn't work, that's why they're having so much coaching changes going over.
And I think Andy Reid does a good job of just allowing Patrick Mahomes to be him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yes.
because he talked about leading up to the Super Bowl how, man, y'all don't understand how many times Patrick goes off script. He kind of freelances sometimes.
Right.
He stay within the system in a sense, but he freelances and goes off script, and it works for him. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of NFL coaches, right, they try to keep you in this box.
Right.
And I think it don't allow you to be the best version of yourself.
I think both of y'all hit the nail on the head. And what I think it is, we said time and time again, back from when we was doing this live, you're only as good as your situation. Andy Reid, since he's been coaching from Donovan, think about how Donovan McNabb played. He didn't have the skill set that Patrick Mahomes.
He was more robotic.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He didn't have the arm talent. Let's say
Yeah.
he didn't have the arm talent to do the things that Patrick had to do passing-wise, but he had the leg talent to do things that Patrick Mahomes can do, but he just did it more frequently. And when you take the you out of the program and not make it about you, look, because some like, I think John Gruden used to be a hellified coach, but then once when he went to ESPN and just all the quarterback thing, he like, my favorite play was wide, all wide banana and all that stuff, and talk about the verbal stuff. Like, it had to be his way, his system. If you supposed to throw the slant on 5 steps in my system and you draw it on 3, even as a touchdown, I'm going off because you ain't doing it my way.
Mhm.
And the read is that, look, this is what got you drafted. This is why we went and got you.
Mm-hmm.
This is the system. And when you take yourself out of it, and like Lowell's been saying, look, I'm gonna find what you do. It's my job to find what you do great. Well, if you look at the Chiefs system, they have 2 primaries and they always have 2 scramble real type routes off it that don't even in the red zone. You don't like why you have a that makes no
Right.
sense to have a scramble
Right.
real route. Like why is this guy going zig? Why is he running 3 zigs on a 5-yard line? But then it's a genius because it worked because Patrick Mahomes gonna get out, boom, 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 and then always on the third cut, you see him looking this way to the boom. It's right there in the window. It's like when you take yourself out of it and understand. Look, no, I don't care if it's from Pee Wee to the NFL. It's about the players.
Right.
At our level, it's about the kids.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let the kids be the kids and all that
Right.
stuff, college stuff. You know, but I get it. With more money is more pressure. But when you take yourself out of it, that's what accepted. And I think the world is starting to move that way too. So now it's like it's not so much a skin color as do you have the ability to do this? And they're respecting the ability now more than the color of the skin.
I think that it was played one way for so long,
Mm-hmm.
like quarterback.
Yeah.
It was played one conventional way for so long, and obviously they had some exceptions to the rule, right? In the '90s and the '80s, you find 1 or 2 that can move around. You had a Warren Moon, you had a Steve, McNair. There's exceptions everywhere.
Randall Cunningham.
Randall
Yeah.
Cunningham, you
Yeah.
always had an exception somewhere. But I think really when 2000 hit, like, now I ain't saying Michael Vick pioneered anything, but just that boom,
Explosion.
that explosiveness, right? Then you start getting the McNabbs, you start getting a few others that come behind it. Vince Young got 3rd overall. You start getting then you start getting the Cam Newtons and the Robert Griffin IIIs, and you start getting these high selectable selections at that position now. And it just opened up that way for that dual threat. Now, it was frowned upon, like G's mentioned it, but then you start seeing the plays, the throws. It's not just all, moving around like Lamar Jackson. There's some throws. And I think around that time when you was coming out of high school, I think people really started to, like, take on, like, the guys like Lowell Narcisse, Kyler Murray's, come out of high school, out of Allen High School over in Texas. People started to really look at it and say, they're just not running around.
Right. Right.
There's something to it.
Yeah.
And we got to act on it now. Now we're watching guys like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson in the NFL. I mean, Josh Allen is not no slim cookie.
Right. Right.
So now you're starting to get this wave of quarterback, and it's like, listen, there's nothing wrong with if you Jared Goff. Ain't no wrong if you Kirk Cousins. However, you ain't got to be Kirk Cousins. You ain't got to be Jared Goff. You could be a Lamar Jackson. You could be a guy who can move around. You get what I'm saying? I think so. It's just starting to change. I just think that it's only getting better because also there's becoming more Black American coordinators, and I think that y'all can kind of understand what's going on.
Another thing people don't factor into, like, just think about the guys on defense are getting better too. Like,
They getting faster.
like Michael Parsons,
What?
Khalil Mack, Nick Bosa. Like, you're not just sitting back there making those guys.
Boy, what?
Michael Parsons probably one of the fastest guys. Like, I can guarantee he can outrun maybe 95% of the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yes.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And so,
Facts.
Yes.
not saying that you didn't have it back in the day, but like,
Not like
that.
it is now.
I can
Not
name,
like that.
You can name 10 guys that can
Yeah.
run
Listen,
with just about anybody.
listen. They had the John Randalls. They had the.
But
I mean,
John, he was power.
John Randall's power.
You talking about like you gotta go
Reggie
like
White was a
you
little
got
both, but
Derek
a lot.
Thomas could run with people.
Yeah, and Lawrence Taylor.
LT, DeMarcus Ware, young DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller. But like
Now,
now is everybody, every team got one.
Man, if you
Yeah.
go to the combine running a 4'8", 4'9" man change position,
Look
you
what
ain't
Dallas
linebacker.
Chargers did.
Right. I do want to ask you this, man. I couldn't wait to ask you this on the podcast, man. What you think about what's going on in Chicago on how they giving Justin Fields a raw deal like this, man? Like, bro,
Let's get into it.
they acting like Justin Fields is a scrub.
Yeah.
And what I always see, man, you don't look good at your
Good
situation.
situation.
You hired a defensive minded coach to coach a talent like this,
Right.
right? And now they talking about trading him away because they don't want to pay him the $180 million because he about to be up for a contract extension. So you rather go get a rookie quarterback,
Yeah.
Start
Then
all the way
keep
over again.
a franchise guy like Justin Fields. because y'all don't want to admit that y'all are the problem.
Mhm.
Man, what's your take on how they doing Justin Fields, man?
Chicago's a rough place, man. That's the first and foremost thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like Justin said, like the guys that he played with Ohio State are far better than the receivers he have in Chicago. And like I mean,
Mine is DJ Moore.
I mean, he makes the one exception, but you just think about like he played with Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison
Right.
Jr., like
Right.
Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson,
And Jimbo Smith.
Like
Paris Campbell.
imagine having like you know what I'm saying, like that's his receiver core and being able to go to the next level,
Boy, he ain't
And
lying.
having to deal with that situation. Like I said, Chicago haven't won since what 2000,
Rex Grossman.
and it ain't like Justin's the problem.
He's not.
He's
Like,
not.
But when you in that situation, man, like when it all goes well, you know, congrats to you. And when it's not, like they're always gonna point the finger at that position. So there's a lot of give and take that come with it. I think it's probably the best thing that's gonna happen for Justin. I think him going to Atlanta, gonna be a great situation for him. I've trained with and been around Justin. He's a down to earth dude. I'm happy for him. This is probably a blessing and a curse. I mean, you know, people gonna say what they want about it, but I think this probably gonna be. He's gonna have a much better productive year.
Have a better cast of players. He got
Right.
B. John Robinson. He
Yeah.
got Kyle. If he gets Atlanta, he got Kyle.
Drake
Pitts, he got
London.
Drake London.
Yeah.
I mean, there's gonna be some guys.
Yeah.
That there's a supporting cast.
Mhm.
I mean, Chicago bad. They bad.
Yeah,
.com.
yeah.
I'm being real.
What you think about the draft, man? Caleb Williams,
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, Drake May.
Mhm.
You know, I guess I'm gonna be a little biased, and I'm gonna go ahead and say
Don't say
Jaden
anything.
Daniels should be the first quarterback taken, man. But
Well, why is that bias?
Everybody entitled to their own.
you know,
You know what I'm saying? LSU is what we do.
but
Y'all just started.
I like Michael Penix too. But you just watching the quarterbacks that's in this draft and being that you played the position.
Mhm.
What's your take on this quarterback class, man? And if you had to pick a quarterback with the number 1 pick, who you taking?
That's tough. That's tough. I think situation matters for sure.
For sure.
Which
The situation in Chicago.
that matters a lot.
And Caleb Williams came out yesterday and said he would love to go to Chicago. Boy, stop. Your agent told you to say that.
Yeah, he got to.
You're lying. You're
Or
lying.
you from DC?
It has a lot of merit to the situation, especially what skill set I want to surround himself with and what I currently have. Obviously, you go back and watch the film of some of the things. A lot of people don't realize the stuff that go into when you're drafting somebody that high. Like they talk to the janitors, your
Mm-hmm.
high school teachers, and all of those things. And so, you know, character matters when you know situations. But if I'm Chicago right now,
Trade it. Trade the pick, man.
And traded twice. Traded twice.
Trade the pick, man.
Keep your original trade twice and load up.
if I'm Chicago right now, I'm trading the first pick because you almost have to take a quarterback at 1, and I'm trying to get some guys around Justin Fields.
Right.
Or trade it once and get Marvin Harrison.
I mean, but it's hard to say you're gonna take a receiver at 1. So
Mhm.
you have to trade it for.
The Jets did it back in 1990
This
something
ain't
with
the Niners no
Keyshawn
more.
with
This ain't the
Keyshawn
Niners no more.
Johnson. The Jets did it.
Let
but
me ask you this. Joel.
Hold on. I need to know who would he, what quarterback would he take 1?
you got to take Caleb 1, man.
You got to.
You got to.
You just got to.
Got to
You
take
got
Caleb.
And you get Jaden's the Heisman, but you know like people don't realize like especially when you're in a situation like attention matters.
Mm-hmm.
I guess clout matters when you're in a situation like and who he has the most buzz around his name. And I don't mean he's always the most gifted or the most talented, but
He bigger. I give him that.
he
Thicker.
is.
He thicker.
That's the one thing I do worry about Jaden. Like if he get hit,
He's lean.
because he took a lot of big hits in
He's gonna
college.
he's gonna have to put some weight on
Yeah.
to get to the next level and
Yeah.
be smarter. And obviously they're gonna protect him the way he runs. But I think if he gets in the right situation, I think he's gonna be. He's gonna be
But if you a GM You going Caleb 1?
You got to.
I think you got to take Caleb 1 though. I just think that it's one of those jobs where he's been projected to be the top pick now for
2 years.
2 years,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if I'm a GM, right, if I'm gonna lose my job, I'm gonna lose my job.
I'm losing somebody that makes
I'm gonna
sense.
lose my job. Say
Right.
I took Caleb Williams first overall.
What you expect me to do?
But
What
last
you
year,
want me to do?
but look, last year everybody was saying Bryce Young, and
and
obviously
me.
they made the wrong. Well, I ain't gonna say they made the wrong choice because I think Bryce Young in a bad
I
situation,
think the best situation.
Yes.
right? Because CJ Stroud went to a good situation.
Yes, he did. And-
So it's easy to say that right now because after it all played out, but
but Bryce Young,
but
Bryce Young
didn't
was
Carolina GM get fired?
Yeah,
the GM and the head coach.
But see,
And they got fired because of
me,
it.
like even like going to college, CJ Stroud was better than
Mhm.
Bryce Young. Not saying that Bryce Young is bad at any day. I just like me. If you asked me who I would have took CJ Stroud. Like I was bigger on CJ than I was on Bryce.
It was two things that drew me away from Bryce.
Size.
I saw Bryce Young in person. I thought he looked like a little boy. Thought I was looking at like a 10th grader in high school. That was number one. Number two, I thought in college he could have made a sandwich back there. He had so much time to throw the ball. So it was rare when he had pressure on him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
2 games I remember him having pressure on him. When they played LSU at home. I mean, when they played LSU at LSU. And I forgot the other game. Texas. Those 2 games, he looked like a shell of himself.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud, I saw him getting blitzed and moving out the
Right.
pocket and extended plays with his legs and still able to get his feet set and get the ball downfield. So that's why I thought, and I'm not just saying it because it played out like that.
Right.
But that's how I felt going into it. If you play back our podcast from a year ago, I said that about Bryce Young. Like, I said, man, I don't know how good he is because he has so much time to throw the ball.
The question I wanted to ask you, because G brought this up, I want to say we was talking to Lester Ricard. We were talking to Lester Ricard. And I'm a big LSU fan. But being a black quarterback at a PWI.
Talk about it.
I can list the names of starting black quarterbacks at LSU history, and if I barely make it to 2. You know what I'm saying? I barely make it to 10 fingers. Barely make it to 10 fingers. You know, the first one I can think of start with Herb.
Rohan Davey.
Rohan David,
Marcus
Randall,
Jordan Jefferson,
Jamarcus Russell,
Brandon
Harris,
Anthony
Jennings.
Yep.
Parallel was like a situational type deal.
Yeah.
I want to say parallel star.
It's
That's what, like
the
7,
guy-
8?
The rubber meets the road.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And that, you know,
Hang yourself.
You know what I'm saying? The thing that I wanted to ask was, one, would that discourage you? You know what I'm saying? For like, just like if you're looking at the track history of it, because you know it's something about going somewhere like somebody like being a D lineman going to LSU, no matter what color you like. All right, this is what they stand on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have somebody there that understand me, that can kind of it's gonna be an alumni that can guide me through the ropes. You know, the only really successful alumni you could go to is Rohan. Now Rohan to help, but it's like, man, you talk about way back when.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Nothing of recent memory.
Yeah.
Correct.
Versus you could, going to a smaller school or a group of 5 school with like, hey, this is the norm.
Right.
Like, we can't tell you last time we had a white one. You know, especially being in the position that you are now, or like maybe mentoring somebody outside of your program. Like, what advice would you give them?
Right.
You know, seeing the situation yourself, you know, going, you know, and having to venture out, but ultimately like make it what's the best decision for you and not the name or the brand.
I'm gonna sum it up for you. Bryce Underwood.
Bingo.
Bryce Underwood.
Out of Michigan.
Number one
Michigan,
quarterback.
Number 1 in the country, 2025.
Number 1 overall player in the country.
2025.
Committed to LSU. He said he gonna stand on that pledge. Man, if Bryce Underwood walked in here today and he like, man, Lowell, give me some advice on how to handle this being a quarterback at LSU?
Now, don't sell him away from school.
Nah, I'm gonna speak on the situation as a whole first. Like, go where you wanted it and not where you tolerated it. That's the first thing. Like, too many times especially playing quarterbacks, you have all the offers, and some schools offer you just because their rival has offered you. And I've had that myself. Like, remember Stanford called me and said that they're gonna offer me because of, I forgot who it was in that conference that offered me, but
I'll be Oregon or somebody.
and basically said that they wanted me to come in and play DB or whatever it is. So
Mm.
don't go somewhere that like, go where you actually want it, and you can tell a difference between a school that actually wants you and is going to tolerate you. The second thing is history does repeat itself, and just the facts of what LSU is, not speaking on the current things now, but every quarterback that's committed to LSU out of high school and went there. I was every black quarterback, for example, has left and went somewhere else. Every person that's transferred in from another school to LSU have had success. Zach Mettenberg,
Yep.
Andy Edlin,
Damn, I didn't think
Jay
about that.
Daniels,
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow,
Like, everybody who've had success at LSU, they ain't start there.
Jared Lee. He transferred in.
Jared Lee wasn't good, man. Stop.
I'm not saying
The
successful
last
like that.
homegrown successful person was Matt Ball.
And so, like, not saying that, I mean, especially during the phase when I was going through there, like, it wasn't, the biggest thing people don't realize, especially when you're going through college, when you're at that type of level, like, they're not waiting for you to be ready,
Mm-hmm.
not at that position. Like, they don't have time for you to go through growing pains. Like, growing pains equals fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're on that stage, like, they need somebody that can do it right now. And in the process of doing it right now, most people don't take the time to develop what's to come, because I have to win right now. And so it's always the hardest part. And like I said, it's a blessing and a curse. I'm a big fan of Joe Sloan, though. Me and him, I actually talked with him just, I want to say 2 weeks ago. He came to East Ascension to see our offensive tackle. And we sat there and talked about an hour. And he's a good guy. He knows exactly what he's doing and
Mm-hmm.
know the situation at hand. And so I think he's in good hands as far as what he's doing. But when you know a situation, not just Bryce, but just any quarterback, it's almost like you almost have to self-teach yourself when you're on that big of a stage. Because
Can't just rely on the coaching.
because like, if you go in there, man, even like the Brandon Harris situation, like, the fans are brutal, man. Like, you go in there and tell me you throw a pick to end the game against Bama, man. Like, that ain't like, they don't forgive you, man.
They don't forgive you.
Hate
They
mail,
don't forgive you, man.
death threats.
And so, like I said, when you're on that type of platform, especially, we talking about LSU, like, you have to be willing to have the outside and self teach yourself when you're in that situation. Ask a bunch of questions. Talk to the guy that's playing, and like, when you're in that situation, you don't see that much because of you actually in it. You're young, you don't understand how to actually play the position of quarterback. And what I mean by that is, it's bigger than just getting out there and calling plays. Like, being likable, how much the teammates respect you, how you carry yourself, like, how do you lead the people around you, like, what do your teammates think about you? And like I said, it's a lot of things that go into actually playing the position, and you don't learn how to play the position until you actually see someone. And if you have a guy in your room that's willing to lead and give you those things that you need for you to be in that situation. And so, if I would tell anybody right now that's going through the process, man, like, be realistic about your situation right now.
Mm-hmm.
Weigh everything. Like, know what you want out of this. Like, and everybody don't realize, like, everybody not gonna go to the league when you go to when you playing football. And I think, even looking at my own situation, I'm glad I didn't go to Auburn, because I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in now. Like, the leverage that I have now by me going to LSU helps me be
Here.
20 minutes from here. If I go to Auburn, I go to Clemson, I like,
You don't have that.
like, because they don't know me, right? You know what you see on the field, but getting to actually know me and be hands on and having boosters and people who are diehard LSU fans get the opportunity to have a conversation with you. They don't get that chance to do it. So
That's a good point.
know what you want after playing football. And like I say, it may not be It may not be the NFL. So know what your plan is after football, and not saying that you're not gonna make it, no, but like the chances are, man, it's
Hitting the lottery.
Man.
Hitting the lottery. Hitting the goddamn lottery.
And I feel like a lot of times, like people don't have those realistic conversations with their kids, with their players, and with themselves really. And so know what you want after college, and like I said, be a sponge, man. Like too many times that people go into it feel like they know it all or afraid to ask questions, man. Like no question is ever a dumb question. And I think the best thing happened to me was me going to the elementary school to teach. Because you understand how much you actually have to explain and into details to kids for them to actually understand something. And so I take that into my coaching career now. Like even if I feel like I think they know, I explain it anyway because you always want to eliminate the well I thought or well I so. And that'll be my advice to those guys. Like go where you want it and not tolerate it. Have a plan after playing ball, and know what you want to do, and be a sponge, man.
What Denzel said, man, explain this to me like I'm 6.
But you have to.
Yeah.
Denzel said, what movie that was? He said that in? Explain this to me like I'm 6.
And man, working at you really don't understand how much like first and second graders of like hey, walk back to your exercise spot. Don't run. Keep your hands and feet to yourself.
Right.
And as you go to you teaching kids. I mean, like you start talking to high school, like it becomes a habit of being able to elaborate and being able to explain the details of exactly what you want. And especially now, like, cause I'm working with offensive line right now, just being able to give those guys everything of just in the gap scheme of knowing who to block, of being able to stay on your track, and then your footwork of being able to check here and get back. And so people don't realize how much value it is to being able to communicate in a detailed way to where not to where you understand it, but teaching it to where like those guys understand it.
Right.
Let me ask you this question.
Hold on. But do you ever play the what if game?
What if?
What if Joe Burrow don't come to LSU and you get that same roster, Jamal Chase, Justin Jefferson, Terrence Marshall, Thaddeus Moss,
Clyde's Edwards
I'm a
left.
first round pick, and I'm in Cincinnati right now.
Ooh.
and a lot of people, we had this conversation a lot. Like,
Because that could have very well happened.
it could have. If I stayed there and played a year and beat Joe out, like
Because he didn't have
Because
a
Joe
first year
wasn't
was
Joe.
not that great.
Joe, they was even saying, I think he was projected to go like
Sixth
sixth
round.
round.
It wasn't that great in
Come on,
my
man.
first year.
And I honestly believe that like those guys had everything they needed for Joe to be successful that
Yep.
year.
Yep.
And
Bringing Joe Brady in too.
that helped
Yeah.
tremendously, man.
Yep.
That helped tremendously.
Yep.
But like Justin Jefferson, Jamal Chase, Terrence Marshall, Clyde, Thaddeus Moss,
Thaddeus
That
Moss.
O line.
like
Well, it was-
I feel like anybody in that quarterback room, not saying that the numbers would have been the same, but you could have won with anybody else
Yes.
in that room.
Yes.
I've seen some.
When he say anybody,
In
anybody
that-
that's in that room,
Yeah,
like
in that room.
Quarterback room.
that's on scholarship.
Yeah.
I think any one of those guys could have had some success with what they had.
They probably wouldn't have had Joe Burrow numbers, but they
And like I
had
said,
success.
you probably don't have those that number, but the talent and the competition of what LSU was a lot better than just about everybody that played that year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just across the board, from receivers, offensive line, running backs. All you got to do is
Defense.
just not turn over the ball.
How many draft picks they had off the team?
Shit.
It was like
6 in the
A
first
plethora.
round.
yeah, they had. I think it was like 9 or 10
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yes.
Everybody got drafted. Ply got drafted.
Yep.
Joe.
I
Patrick.
remember I told you I had text you. I was like, man, Clyde going first round.
Yeah.
Clyde went
We
first round.
were
Joe,
talking about it. He was like, man, you called that one.
Justin, Patrick Queen on the defensive side of the ball. Chase
Grant.
on.
Grant
Yeah.
Delpit.
Right.
Randall Pitt.
Jacoby Stevens went late.
Who was the corners?
Christopher.
Christian Foden went second round.
First
Oh,
round, second round.
Stingley.
And Derek Stingley. And Derek went.
Oh
was a
shit!
freshman.
Oh lord, man, I forget that one.
Derek Stingley. I mean,
Greedy had just left.
yeah, Greedy had left. Greedy had just left.
Kerry Vincent.
Kerry Vincent.
Vincent.
Kerry
Yep.
Vincent. D-line was
Rashard Lawrence.
Rashard Lawrence.
Charlon went like fit to the Cardinals.
He's still in the league.
Still in the
Yeah, he's
league.
in the league.
Yep. Longevity.
It was a
David Randall had that thing wrote.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they had some guys. But here's the question I want to ask you, because from your time in college football to now,
Mhm.
with the transfer portal, things different. That the conversation they're having with you when you was coming out of high school, being a blue chipper, it's difficult for these high school kids now to get in. If they're 3-star and they're 4-star now, it's different now. They're not being recruited like they were.
Right.
So what are some of the conversations you having with some of these kids now with the differences of college football and being recruited? Because some of these kids, trying to get into LSU initially come out of high school may not be the way to go.
Right.
It might be the way to go somewhere they can play and then transfer in. Versus when you were coming out of high school, the lifeline of college, football was getting that 5-star, getting those 4-stars, getting those 25 to 27 recruits. It's a different ball game with this transfer portal. So what kind of conversations you having now with some of these kids?
I actually had that just happen firsthand. So last year, I had a 2,000-yard rusher. He had, I want to say, 200 carries for 2,000 yards and 45 touchdowns.
Lord.
That ran a wing tee?
God damn.
We were in gap scheme. But he's going to JUCO with those numbers. And so I think right now, especially with the transfer portal, is hurting a lot of high school kids. Because right now of where college football is and the coaching business is, it's like everything has to be an instant gratification. Like you want somebody that's played already, that has time, that has some experience.
Right.
Unless you're one of those top 10 guys that's being signed out of high school. And so it's definitely hurting high school. Like right now we have Braden Williams and Kobe Brown that still haven't signed with anybody because of the transfer portal.
Right.
And so I think at some point the high school, the college is going to have to get some form of hold on.
Some guidelines.
What it is, because they didn't think that the NIL was going to take this type of toll on the football aspects of it right now. And
it's crazy.
Everybody wanted it until now. You see the problem.
The
with
problem.
It now. The guys that's there, they're enjoying it because you're able to get a certain type of money that you probably won't ever get, even if you don't make it to the NFL. But on the other side of it, it's high school kids that deserve opportunity to play at the next level and struggling to get it because of coaches rather take somebody who's been in college for 2 years rather than take a chance on a high school guy.
If they pass this rule,
You're going to change a lot.
with the one-time transfer in high school, it's really going to be the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
And I'm against it. That's just me.
Why?
I'm against it. Because it's going to have a lot of people that don't have integrity, that don't have morals, that's going to be doing, it's going to be a lot of funny business going on, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the good going to have to suffer for the bad. That's why I'm not going to like it. Because, think about travel teams, AAU, 7-on-7. Man, it's so much shiesty stuff going on behind the scenes, and people going to be doing some things. They're going to sell their souls.
To what G said, as somebody who's been coaching for a minute now, it's nothing like watching that kid be successful, state championship, not state championship, because I've been there, but winning or being successful with that group of kids that they grow up with. If that rule comes into effect, man, and let's say my kid is on, let's say my best player, I'm coaching at St. Helena right now. Let's say we got a shot. Because of the conference that we in and all that stuff, and my best player, plays travel ball with somebody else. And hey, man, my dad said you can stay with us. And this is an opportunity. Now he got he gets to go play below his level. I'm talking about his skill set, and not have to do as much of the stuff that made him special because of what he has around him now. I lost that kid. That affects, just think of the small town schools that'll affect, but then also, like you say, where's the integrity of what are we teaching our kids?
And you got certain kids that will do it for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not talking about them.
Like you said, the good gonna suffer for the bad. But
exactly.
I think what's also gonna happen is it's gonna be a abuse. So now it's gonna be whoever has the best facilities gonna win. the best uniforms.
Whoever getting the most kids committed and signing scholarships.
So now it's gonna be like the championship norm. You're like, you just might as well just school A, school B. We know they're gonna be here, so why not? So why show up?
And I see both sides of it, man. And I always felt like, especially in college, like if a coach can get up and leave for a better situation for him and his family, like a kid should be able to do it too.
Yeah.
And I also see the side of it now. And I actually just had this conversation with our team. Like, we live in so much of an instant gratification world right now, to where like, and I think part of it is our parents' fault, because we don't, as a parent, you don't want your kids to go through the same thing that you went through, and so we try to protect them so much of that. I don't want you to make this mistake. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that. But like, what are we actually teaching them though? And so I feel like I told him today, as a coach, like, I love you enough to grow with you as you go through this process. And some things you have to experience. Some things you have to experience. But as a parent, like, if you're financially or you have the connection you need, you can protect your kids from certain things that you normally wouldn't do, 10, 15 years ago. And so I think that it would take some of the competitive things out of the sport, in my opinion. But like you said, it is some kids that deserve to be in a better situation. So I see both sides of it.
Yeah.
And especially now, like, even we going through a changing phase at AEA with the guys we have now. And my message to them was like, they don't understand how to win. And people don't realize, like, it's like, winning is strategic. Like, you don't just show up and win on Fridays. Like, it's a process, is a mindset, is a form of discipline you have to develop in order for you to get to that point. And I told him, like, we're a lot better than where we were, but we still got a long ways to go. And so I get both sides of it. I really don't have a fight in the dog, honestly, because of, like I said, man, I get it. And especially now, probably because of my situation, to where you have Santa Ma, Dutchtown, Fairview, like, everybody's going to go where
who the big dog is,
right? And they have some kids that want to go to where they want to just get an opportunity to play their senior year or whatever it is. And so I understand both sides of it, honestly.
But before we let you go, we got to get into Lowell's favorites.
Let's
Here we
do it.
go. Favorite football player of all time, no matter what level.
Cam Newton.
Deuce.
On the way that too.
Got it tatted on me, man.
Cam. Oh, Cam.
Favorite movie of all time.
The Lone Survivor.
Okay.
The Lone Survivor.
What's
The
that?
military movie.
So it's about 4 Navy SEALs got sent to Afghanistan to do a special mission.
Let me put this in my
And
notes.
the one
never
that
seen
made it
The Lone
out
Survivor?
told the story.
Mark
Mark
Wahlberg
Wahlberg's
is the
the main
Lone
cat.
Survivors?
Yeah.
The Lone Survivor.
Lone
The
Survivor.
Survivors.
Lone Survivor.
Long survival.
Yeah.
I like to ask this question because I get to go home and
Yeah,
watch it if I ain't never
it's-
seen
it's-
it.
You
nice.
gonna enjoy it. You gonna enjoy it.
Sound like shooting.
No, it's real because it's a real story.
Yeah. It's based on a true story.
Like
You
like
a
American
movie head.
Sniper.
I like that.
Like American
you,
Sniper?
you be doing your movies.
It's really
Yeah,
four
do something.
Four Navy SEALs got sent to Afghanistan to do a mission, and as they got over there, 3 of the people they died along the mission.
Don't tell me the story.
Oh my bad, I'm good. But basically, the one that made it out told the story,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
and he just kind of
He wrote a
He
book.
now reading it?
he give you a visual
Gotcha.
representation
Wow.
of
They
it.
show you
Gotcha.
real pictures after he
Gotcha.
got saved by a special rule.
Yeah.
Just put it that way.
I got you. Favorite sneaker all time?
Sneaker. That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to go with the low top ones.
Good choice.
Low top ones.
Favorite coach of all time that made the most impact on you, no matter what level?
That's tough.
Nobody won't get nobody in
Yeah,
trouble.
Yeah.
You know Valdez gonna see this.
Yeah, I know. I know, man.
Coach Jenkins might go see this.
Yeah. You had both of them 2 years apiece?
Mm-mm.
He had
Jenkins 1 year? Yeah, Jenkins 1 year.
Valdez for what?
Yeah,
Yeah, Jenkins-
you on, all right. Bam.
I gotta go with Coach Jenkins, man.
Yeah.
All right, I'm about to flip the script on you. You fresh out of high school right
Mhm.
now. You fresh out of high school right now. Coach Jenkins at a college. Prime time at Colorado. they both offer you a scholarship. Where you going?
Coach Jenkins.
Prime?
That trust factor.
Trust matters, man.
Yeah, dog. I
Trust
feel him
me.
on it. I feel him on it.
Man ain't going to Colorado.
You know what I'm saying?
Trust matters.
Favorite place to visit? Don't say the Riverwalk. No, San Antonio had that Riverwalk.
Oh man. I'm gonna have to go with
Oh my God.
I'm gonna go with New York, man. The only thing is, man,
Empire State.
it was brutally cold out there when I went.
Yeah.
You gotta
You
go
went for
summertime.
New Year's?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
roll tide.
It was brutally cold out
You
there.
gotta have a different type of coat.
That's when you're from when you're from down here, like that's a different type of.
It
cold
is.
that-
It
that-
is.
You don't even understand it, man.
I went there for the ball drop in 2017. Just bought one jacket.
Yeah.
The stupidest idea I ever had in my life.
Yeah. I went to a Yankee game in the winter
Froze.
when it was cold. I said the winter, well, like in October. During well, it wasn't October. I think it might have been like September. It might have been October to see CC Sabathia
Yeah.
pitch, and I was freezing my ass off.
Bro, I went in April.
It was an experience though.
Yeah.
I went in April.
Yeah.
It was still snow.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
dumb ass up there with shorts on.
Yeah.
It's like
It's
getting
cold.
off in LaGuardia. I'm like,
It's
man,
cold.
this can't be life.
It's
My
cool.
feet froze, dog.
Favorite comedian all time?
Get it to me.
You're on the spotlight here, by
He
the
young,
way.
so he might not get it to me.
I'm gonna go Bernie Mac.
Oh, get it to me. Get it to me. Get it to me. Get it to me.
I'm down like 9-1 right now.
Yeah.
Who you was thinking?
Chris Tucker. I'm a Chris Tucker fan. Dave Chappelle, Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
I'm Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris
Eddie
Tucker.
Murphy.
I'm
He burning.
burning.
He been winning. I mean
Burning.
every podcast we have,
Podcast.
he saying Bernie,
Gotta go
Bernie,
Bernie.
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 I got one person said Chris Tucker. I think
Yeah.
it might have been I forgot who said it. One person said Chris
Yeah.
Tucker, and one person said Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
So I'm down like 9-1.
And it's like
cool.
we had
It's fine.
a couple of Eddies in there, but,
Yeah, a couple of these.
but it's Bernie, baby.
Bernie is leading the street.
Yeah.
Bernie is leading the
You
street.
got to, man.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
going
yeah.
on?
Yeah. If Lowell wasn't doing football, what would you be doing with your life?
That includes coaching too.
Mm-hmm. If you didn't like the game of football, if you didn't like sports, what would you be doing with your life?
Ah, boy, that's tough, man. Especially once I'm in the prime of my life right now.
Actually, this in 10 years.
Oh
Give me
man.
a decade, G.
He's still learning himself. I get it. I've been there.
He ain't got enough equity in his ROI yet.
Yeah. I would say I'd probably be a therapist.
I can see you doing it.
like sports.
I can see you with the coat
therapist
on.
or like
I can see
just
you with
like
the coat on. Was it with the glasses?
Yeah, a mental
Yeah.
health therapist.
I can see you doing it. You got the soft, subtle voice. Like, yeah, I can see you doing it. I
I'm a
can
good
see.
listener, man.
Yeah.
Listen.
You might need to think about that.
I thought about it, and somebody I talked to said that when thinking about that, they don't pay those people the money they need.
But
to
you know what? They about to start doing, right? They about to start creating a position in universities.
Yeah.
Well, mainly Power 5 schools,
Power school.
where they have a sports therapist,
Yeah.
and they talking about paying them pretty good, like between $9 and $100K.
LSU already have one. Like he part of the strict condition, but like when they make it official, he gon'
Yeah.
that's his role and weight.
Yeah.
He damn good too. Damn good.
A lot of people don't know how to process when things happen to them,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my fair share of adversity, loss, death, whatever you want to call it. But just learning how to process your emotions and being able to deal with when things happen.
It's
And
huge.
that's one of the best things I learned. Like sometimes, like everything ain't gonna make sense to why something happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't say losing a parent or getting hurt or like why me? You know, like, and so just getting people to understand like sometimes things don't make sense, man. Stop trying to make sense of it. Just deal with it and be able to take things on. And so I think that's why I've been able to be so successful. And everybody had their own definition of success in life. But I feel like being able to go through those things and be to where I'm at now, in the midst of what I've endured, I'm able to kind of help people and give them a outline of what it's like to when life hit, because at some point everybody gonna deal with something.
You're gonna deal with something.
That not money can't get you out of, your parents can't get you out of, you just got to be able to weather that storm and be able to deal with it. I feel like, especially now, just being able to give the kids the guidelines of what it is and how to process those emotions and things of whenever they do come your way.
No doubt, man.
Man. Talking a little Billy off the edge. Billy,
yeah,
come
man.
back over here.
Driving here, man. I was just thinking back, just how fast time passed, and I just remember coming to that first spring practice when y'all was at the old school.
Yeah,
that was the first time That's the first time I had. That's when I had the iPad and stuff like that. That was the first time That was the first time I saw you in person. I heard about you, saw the highlight, but that was the first time I saw you in person. I remember leaving the. Matter of fact, Joe Sloan was at that practice. Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
what you're talking about.
Joe Sloan was at that practice.
Outside the building.
Yeah. And I remember leaving that practice and calling like a few of my partners and just saying, bro, I just saw Lowell Narcisse in person. Like, hey, he the real deal. He the real deal. And just seeing that transformation, man, even with the injuries, and then just seeing your process, man, and going to LSU and leaving there, going to JUCO, leaving JUCO, going to UTSA, and now you're in that coaching realm, man, at East Ascension. I know they got a hell of a person, not just a football coach, but a hell of a person to teach them on life skills and how to deal with different situations that they're going to endure in their high school career, man. I'm rooting for you, dog. I can't wait to come cover some games this year, man.
For sure.
See if y'all can get East Ascension back on the map.
For sure.
Got that big boy left tackle doing that kick step. So, can't wait to come check y'all out, man.
Yes, sir,
Can't wait
man.
to come check y'all out, man. Appreciate you coming on, bro.
Appreciate y'all for having me, man. For
Oh
sure.
man, y'all already know what it is. Listen, that's the FanView podcast. Listen, get subscribed if you're on Facebook, FanView podcast. If you're on IG, FanView podcast. If you're on YouTube, FanView podcast. If you still on X, it's still FanView NOLA. TikTok, FanView podcast. Don't get subscribed, like, hit the notification button. Each and every time we upload an episode, we here. We can't stop.
We won't stop, man.
Y'all already know what it is.
Every time you say I want to say Rockefeller.
You know about who?
You know, like chill out.
Spot it, man. St. Helena versus East Ascension, man. Spot it. Spot it. Spot it.
What they spotting us? They spotting us. Come on. Make it greasy for me.
You know how to be messy. You know how to be a little messy before we end this podcast,
Yeah, I
man.
know. Yeah, make it greasy for me.
G Sports, man. We sign it out.
Shout it out, man.
Step Construction is here for you with a brand new offer. We now provide affordable storage sheds. Stop wasting your money on overpriced storage units and portable containers. Step Construction can provide you with a custom shed that will fit your budget and storage needs. So contact Step Construction today at 504-340-5809 for your own personal quote. Let us help you take the next step at Step Construction.
It's DatBoyFred, host of FanView podcast. Tune into the NOTN app, weekdays, 3:30 for the FanView podcast. Go to NewOrleansTalkNetwork.com to watch more episodes of FanView podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch.